Hello, my channel mammals, and all the any strangers that want to take a chance and getting trapped into our channel. Today I chose this beautiful morning to talk to you about basically about manners, but it goes way beyond manners, and I might need a few minutes to think as I speak, so because I don't have any organization to my talk to you, but I just wanted to share it with you. I think most of you are with me on these thoughts, but society is so severe right now that people actually feel criminal if they don't obey the modern methods, which are mannerless and harmful. Actually, it has to do with inviting people to dinner, or to luncheon, or to brunch or breakfast. And well, when I was a child, and also whilst I was a grown-up, all the way till just a few years ago, I think, when you're invited to dinner, you would just say, "Oh, I'd love to come, and can I bring something?" Or, they'll say something like that. But nobody says, "Oh, what are you serving?" That's considered bad manners. In fact, even in our home, if any of the 4 children asked Mommy what she was making for dinner, she would say, "You'll see when it's before you." And she really trained us that we should not be deciding whether we're coming to dinner or that we're going to like it or not according to what it's called, and she's prepared the meals, she's the cook, and we are the guests at the dinner table. And so we're also the scullery crew after dinner. But it's become considered mannerly, which is very odd, to actually even write texts or letters to people or put it into an invitation to ask your guests, the hostess and host, asking the guests if they have any food objections, and or they even go into like calling them different things. And somebody did that. They were having we don't usually do this for this reason, actually. I try to stay away from many things that are about food, because people have started to consider food as kind of part of their body. And, it's a little too, it becomes very personal. And it used to be that you sat down, you ate your grub, you had a good conversation, and, that was a wonderful night. But now everybody talks about what they're eating at the dinner table, whether it's good for you or it's not, or you can or you can't eat it. And so people have succumbed to actually asking people, is there anything I can't serve because of you? And somebody was having an event here, which we don't, as I said, don't usually do now, where they wrote, they sweetly got in touch with us with what they were writing to the people, which I thought was very, very thoughtful, because we had a lot of things to say about it. And one of the things was if they had any food allergies or dietary restrictions. And I said to the lady, let's not ask that question. It's what they call begging the question. And we don't want people to have to be forced to think about things like that. That's what creates the problems, is too much attention on what goes into the body. And I mean, it's not like they're going to feed them something horrible, like, I don't know, monkey's toes or something like that. They're not probably going to do that. But we just need to, I said to her, let's just not ask that at all. And she was wonderful about it. She completely stopped the conversation. And at one point in the preparation leading up to the event, she said, well, I think there might be 1 or 2 vegetarians. And I said, well, there's something for everyone anyway, in most situations. It's only lunch. They could wait for dinner if they couldn't bear to eat anything. It's not that they're going to starve. And so we're just not going to go into all of that. It's none of our business. It's none of our business. And it's not their responsibility to be forced to think about their bodies by the society of today, where it's, I went to a very important meeting in Boston recently, and they had, in a big tent outside in the late cold night, different boxes, like box dinners. And they had all these names on them of the different things that you could be, or it could be, instead of saying ham and cheese sandwich, whatever, tuna fish, whatever, just so people could choose by what they'd like to get, egg salad, whatever. Instead, they're calling it some kind of a thing that forces you to say, I am that thing. I am a vegan. I am a vegetarian. I am a gluten. Or, whatever it is. And then there's some other things that are made out of letters, like an acronym or something. Just craziness. It's getting to that place. So, I would say it's bad manners. It's all gotten into a very bad way. And we need to keep our private sense of ourselves private. We need to have the right to do that. And society is pushing us into talking about our bodies. And we don't need to fall for that. We don't need to go there. And if you're a guest, if we are a guest, we eat what's in front of us, or scooch it onto the what I used to do when I was a little girl. If it was something I didn't particularly care for, I put it onto the green leaves that were painted onto the dishes that we were eating off of, like my mother wasn't going to notice. Little things like that. That's funny. But you don't have to do any of that. You're a grown-up guest. You can leave anything on your plate. It's not considered bad manners not to eat everything and scrape your plates and be a member of the Clean Plate Club. It's really not. So just keep that out of the conversation. There's so much in the world today to talk about together. There's so much promise. There's so much hope. There's so much before us. And everybody's hungering and thirsting after that righteousness. And let's just, let's make our conversations be not about the physical body, but about the spiritual ideas of thought that are changing the world, awakening the world in new ways. It thought it was awakened, and it got all into these strange new world orders, quote unquote, and now it's awakening even more, and new fresh thought is being blossomed everywhere. So we have lots to talk about. We have family, children, dogs, the flower bed. It just goes on and on. What's going on in the city that you're in, or the countryside? What's going on in another nation? Oh, just so much. A book you just read, a wonderful story. There's just endless things to bring to the table and to make the night enriching for everyone. I was thinking just now about President Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt. He was in a wheelchair, and the photographers always made sure that they photographed from the waist up of the men, photos of the men or women or whoever was in this group, a group photo. They never would embarrass the president by showing any physical incapacity of some sort. And I just thought that was so dignified. And nowadays, it's not only that they wouldn't go ahead and show every ailment that someone's having and dwell on it like they are with the president, right? The recent current president. I mean, every day they're talking about too old, too this, too that, cognizant, not this, not that. I mean, you know, I have my own opinions about who I think would make a good president, but it is not, that is not what identifies a good president. Age has nothing to do with anything, and we should not be required to tell our age all the time. People ask, come right out and say, how old are you? You know, it's so rude, and it's so invasive. And you know what? I have a friend who says, when somebody asks him how old he is, he says, that's actually none of my business. He says it about himself. It's not his business. He's not interested in age. Isn't that precious? Oh, well, that's none of my business. But really, he shouldn't have to say anything. It should not be happening. And there are always going to be things to think about with things that we just don't like. But we don't have to say, oh, I don't eat that. Or, you know, when you're passing something, just pass it on by. Oh, you forgot to have the pickled eyeballs. Oh, well, that's okay. It can go right ahead. You know, be shared around the table. You know, just you don't have to draw attention to anything, and just let it all just not be the major concern. And I really believe that, and I really think we've lost something in our basic manners, respect for each other, for ourselves, if nothing else. And there are things that a couple of things that I wouldn't want to eat, but even if I was served it, I wouldn't, if I couldn't make myself eat a little nibble of it or whatever. And I've gotten over it, you know, because I realized when I was a little girl, I didn't like broccoli. And I carried that with me as my identity. All my growing up, I was like, I don't eat broccoli. I don't like broccoli. Ew, I don't like broccoli. And one time, I heard an evening, I think it's a television, I forget what they call it, a nighttime television program. And I think I might have been at least a teenager in the summertime, because normally we weren't really exposed to TV. But the subject of broccoli came up, and he said, I hate broccoli. He said, in fact, I don't even like people that like broccoli. And I thought that was so funny, and that he was so clever, that I held on to my broccoli attitude even longer. And it's not until recently that I thought, that is attention getting. That is something that we do to make ourselves look special or different. Since I've realized that that's attention getting, I thought, that is not what I want. I do not want to take attention away from what's important and make myself something special by saying I don't like broccoli. And do you know, I realized that it was something I'd carried around with me all these years. I was all so proud to be that way. And I realized how silly and wicked and small that view of myself was. So I said, that's it. If I'm served broccoli, I will enjoy it. And I think a lot of it was when we were children, you know, people cooked differently. And my mother never would have made broccoli special. She would just have butter, salt, and pepper and broccoli, you know, and it was stinky during preparation time. And so, you know, you can see how a little child might wrinkle up their nose at this or that. But if they're well raised, they'll slurp down an oyster. They'll, like our grandchildren, they'll eat anything. One more thing I mentioned, but I didn't harp on it. And that was that the very huge money and power in the media and the drug companies today has actually had an ability to the sleepy public to make them think that it's bad manners not to ask these personal questions. They're actually making people feel that, believe that. So people are doing it out of, oh gosh, I better ask, you know, and they don't need to. Where's that coming from? That's coming from big, powerful money that is trying to grab our consciousness, our very being, our very ethics, our very core, and turn it upside down for their purposes. And so don't be naive. You know, we can hold tight to what is true, and don't feel that we need to, you know, join the crowd on that. And I think the more lovingly we lift thought into the true direction of thought, everyone will be blessed, and everyone will feel the difference in your presence, in our presence. So I'm here to tell you, I'm making my own progress. I've made my own. I've done it. You don't have to make progress. You just say no. So remember your manners, and you'll see that the whole world will be blessed, especially you. Thank you, my channel mammals.